Although there are countless die-hard Gundam fans on the internet, there are also just as many who don't like the franchise at all. I get where they're coming from because many of the series are 50-episode long heavy-handed war dramas, which can be a bit much for some to stomach. Thankfully, not every Gundam anime is made by the same team, so the franchise is much more diverse than people understand. Gundam 8th MS Team benefits the most from this creative diversity because it builds upon the franchise's narrative strengths while improving upon its weaknesses, creating a better sense of balance. After having seen almost every Gundam anime, 8th MS Team is the breath of fresh air Gundam desperately needed, as well as a great entry point for beginners, though some would disagree. Gundam 8th MS Team is set during the Universal Century timeline in year 0079, towards the end of the One-Year War. Although it helps to have already seen the original Gundam from 1979, it's not compulsory because the story offers a narrower scope following ordinary soldiers. Both the characters and the events within 8th MS Team are unique to this series. There's nothing you need to know prior to watching, and this won't spoil you to any events in other Gundam anime. The story follows Ensign Shiro Amada, who begins his journey by heroically venturing out in what's arguably the worst mobile suit ever in order to rescue a fellow soldier from Zeon attack. Unbeknownst to him, these events would forever change his life. During Shiro's stoic venture, he becomes stranded alongside his former rival Aina Shahalin, a beautiful Zeon pilot. Although their introductions were marred by strife and gunfire, this coincidental event sparked chemistry that would leave them longing for the day their paths would cross once again. Upon Shiro's arrival on Earth, he's given command of his own unit stationed in Southeast Asia. His team consists of several soldiers with varying degrees of experience. Shiro's new challenge is to prove his worth to his subordinates who outclass him, while providing strong leadership to his less skilled members in order to assure mutual survival. Although Shiro is a skilled pilot, his first experiences in Earth's gravity negates much of his training, which shines a light on his strongest asset: his ingenuity. Shiro is capable of rolling with the punches in combat by using his environment, which compensates for his stormtrooper-like accuracy. Additionally, he's also a creative strategist, allowing him to survey the situation and make quick decisions that alter his plans. I really appreciated Shiro's quick wits, as his solutions typically made sense given the circumstances, and you'll never see it coming. This isn't like other strategy-oriented anime where the protagonist pulls some crazy plan out of thin air that utilizes unknown assets. In 8th MS Team, all of the cards are on the table, you just can't predict what hand Shiro will play. I should also note how few anime feature quick-witted strategists who lead a team of skilled soldiers that compensate for his shortcomings. The only anime that comes to mind is Code Geass, and I think 8th MS Team portrayed a much more believable representation. Of course, if you know of any others, I'd love to hear your recommendations. Regarding Shiro's crew, they are another one of the series' narrative strengths, as they're all equally developed. Each of them has their own personality, backstory, strengths, weaknesses, and internal and external struggles. There are numerous times they will have to go the extra mile in order to compensate for the lack of courage, responsibility, or skill of another. This dynamic creates what I consider to be the most realistic display of teamwork featured in any Gundam anime. What's probably the biggest double-edged sword in the series is how it offers nearly parallel development for its 7 central characters. Like I said in my Wonder Egg priority review, good characters take time to develop, and both of these anime lack time, yet they still manage to get the job done. Personally, 8th MS Team offers much smoother development, but what's sacrificed is the degree of development for each character. There were times we'd see a flashback for Shiro that would only last a few seconds, or a character would hint at details in their past. There just wasn't enough time to see it fully fleshed out, and I was left wanting to see more. I consider this to be a compliment due to its writing, considering how interesting all of its characters were. However, this is also the biggest shortcoming because it probably should have been 24 episodes. In addition to its main cast, they also take the time to provide proper characterization for its tertiary and background characters, which I think did an outstanding job of displaying the gray morality of the One-Year War. There were characters I hated in the Federation, but there were also several who I liked in Zeon. Some Zeon were even respectable and honorable, which made for some conflicting emotions as I watched some of its intense battles unfold. Romance is an important element in 8th MS Team, and I think they did an excellent job of portraying such delicate emotions. I always say that my favorite anime romances are found in non-romance anime, and this is another example of why. Due to the anime's remote setting, there were plenty of secluded, romantic environments for these feelings to flourish. There was even the beginnings of a love triangle, and to be honest with you, I would have been happy with any outcome because the anime did a great job of making you care about its cast. The only character who I thought was the result of bad writing was Gineas, who's a total one-dimensional cartoon villain. Thankfully, he's one of the characters with the least screen time. I know the main theme of Gundam is articulating a billion reasons why war is bad, and maybe this sort of occurrence is realistic in war, but I think telling a good story should take precedence. When you spend so much time building rapport with both sides, it feels like a cop-out to introduce a one-dimensional evil when there's a perfect tragedy waiting to unfold. I felt the same way with the White Walkers and Game of Thrones, with the religious cult and Legend of the Galactic Heroes, and with the countless reiterations of the cyber new types in various Gundam anime. Maybe the Gundam mental breaks are the most reasonable of the three, but I can't think of a single occurrence when I thought of it as good writing. Having said that, I don't want to paint the picture that the conflict of 8th MS Team was underwhelming, because it certainly wasn't. The battles throughout the entirety of the series were some of the most visually impressive moments in Gundam anime. I love how the mobile suits interact with their environment. They duck behind trees for cover, hide behind buildings, fight underwater, beam attacks turn sand into glass and melt snow. Even when they fight in debris fields in space, the debris was used as a weapon or for cover. During the battle, mobile suits clash against one another, causing pieces of their armor to fly away, or in some cases destroying various body parts, rendering them unusable. I also love the way they articulated the fear of war from the perspective of the cockpit. There were times that the power was cut and the pilot had to frantically change fuses in the dark as bullets whizzed by his mobile suit, or when a cockpit was breached, forcing them to look through a gaping hole in their mobile suit as shrapnel and bullets enter the cockpit. I've seen some gruesome mecha cockpit deaths, but I've never seen the element of fear portrayed as well as in Gundam 8th MS Team. They do a great job of gradually increasing the intensity of combat, building up for the final confrontation, which will leave you on the edge of your seat the entire time. I know I criticize Gineas as being one-dimensional, but thankfully that's only part of the final confrontation, considering warmongers exist on both sides to perpetuate the horrors of combat. Visually speaking, 8th MS Team stands above every mech anime I've ever seen due to its realistic representation of its mechanical components and their environmental impact. They're actually heavy machines that use gears and pistons instead of being magical metal human-shaped things that defy the laws of physics. There were times when Shiro has to reach inside the leg or arm of his Gundam and adjust specific components. When a mobile suit picks up a weapon, there's a slot on its hand that locks into the weapon, which transfers data and energy into it. Weight is also properly conveyed as mechs crush the land beneath their feet, destroy buildings, or my favorite display of scale, when a Zaku drops its Heat Hawk, nearly crushing a child in the process. Mobile suit enthusiasts will likely rejoice in seeing how 8th MS Team shines a new light on outdated mechs such as the Ball, Gun-Tank, Zaku-1, GM Prototype, and more. I love seeing flashy Gundam designs like in Wing, but the earlier, more practical, bulky models always have a special place in my heart. Without spoilers, let's talk about the ending. Gundam 8th MS Team features my favorite type of ending, the kind where it takes an additional episode to show what the characters have been up to since the conclusion. I always appreciate this, but I felt that its execution was slightly underwhelming, as half of the final episode focuses on introducing new characters. I understand why they did it, but I just don't think there was enough time to properly implement all of their ideas. Although its final moments hit like an emotional freight train, I feel like the final episode should have been a movie instead. Overall, 8th MS Team sits comfortably in the upper percentile of Gundam anime for the following reasons. Its characters are well developed, have engaging interactions, and experience positives in their life. Its romance aspect is written well and thankfully avoids the annoying tropes of the woman becoming a murderous psychopath or a one-note political activist. It's not an endless torrent of suffering like other anime in the franchise. It succinctly conveys anti-war themes without being too heavy-handed or before taking 50 episodes to accomplish. It adds more detail to a greater variety of mobile suits than any other anime in the franchise to my knowledge. It also has amazing picture quality on its Blu Ray release. I give Gundam 8th MS Team a 9 out of 10, though I enthusiastically enjoyed it enough to score it a 10 after my first viewing. It's an incredibly enjoyable and well-made anime, but after 3 viewings it's hard not to notice how it needs a few more episodes. Although 8th MS Team has additional anime content, it doesn't add a lot of value to its story. Miller's Report is a recap movie that adds some new dialogue scenes. However, the anime is already too short to begin with. It doesn't need a recap. This would have been better off as a special that exists between episodes. Battle with the Third Dimension is a 9-minute animation featuring some well-animated mech fights. Both of these are worth watching if you want to see more, but they're basically just fan service. Additionally, there is a 3-volume long light novel and a 4-volume manga created after the anime, but sadly, I couldn't find any details regarding its story as they've likely never been translated. If you'd like to see more anime like 8th MS Team, then I recommend the original SDF Macross for being a mech anime with a great story and interesting love triangle. I also recommend the original Gundam 0079 as its story still holds up well. Just be sure to watch it in HD. Lastly, I recommend War in the Pocket, a 6-episode emotional powerhouse that's safe for those just getting into Gundam. So what do you think of 8th MS Team? Is it also one of your favorites? If you enjoyed this review, please hit the like button and share with a friend so more people can discover the wonders of anime without being spoiled. Thanks for watching. I don't know what I'll be reviewing next, but I just started watching Gundam X, so it might be that. I'll see you next Friday.